Hey, Shalom Akim, Shalom, Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak, of honors to the apostles and the elders of great most known for teaching us truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Akwathim. And listen, may the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Requai. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord's will is always an edifying and comforting lesson. And for today's lesson, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Christianity and how the religion as a whole and their different sects take away the masculine spirit and that masculine portion of the scriptures. They don't essentially discuss and go into these things because, well, pretty much, the scriptures do say the Lord doesn't dwell in temples made with hands, right? So, you're not going to find wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in the Catholic Church. Let's just be honest, right? You're going to find a lot of essentially dressed up pagan, reinforced, revamped, recycled pagan, Roman, Greco-Roman, Egyptian traditions that they still practice today. Sun worship, woman worship, um, that type of vibration, right? Um, Basically, they take away the masculine component. So what I kind of wanted to do today, I kind of just wanted to touch on a couple quick accounts in regards to three different traits I picked out that the sentiment of masculinity is not something you're going to get in the Catholic Church. This is probably one of the reasons why you see a lot of Israelites and a lot of people as a whole are pretty much leaving the Catholic Church, right? So, and one of the other reasons is because essentially there is a strong deception in regards to the manner of how the Lord and Savior actually is as well. There's a huge deception in his character, how he comes off, so there is as a matter of fact, let me start here in Revelation actually, since I mentioned deception. Because when our people think about the Lord and Savior, they think pretty much in the sentiment of how they see an image of actually Jesus Christ, with the so-called pale white skin with long, thin hair, type 1 hair. They think about him as, super caring. They never think of him as somebody who's strict, as an austere man, right? Who spoke with authority. They don't acknowledge and think about and actually discuss these things, right? So there's a huge deception on the image of how the Savior actually looked. One, the physical image, but also in terms of character, that is also missing. You're not going to find that image, that true image, and that true essence of how the Savior actually conducted himself, right? So, since I spoke about the deception, this is Revelation. I'll start here. Revelation 20, verse 7. And it says, "And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison." Right? So there will be a period in time where you have our people, the Israelites, they would rule, and they would fall out of rulership, and eventually Satan would come back and be loosed out of his prison for a little season, right? Not a spiritual entity, or rather a man would come into the workings and do the workings of Satan, and essentially he will go out to deceive the nations, right? So in verse 8 it says, "And he shall go out to deceive the nations," and shall go out to deceive the nations which are at the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, gather them to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea, right? So part of his deception was the actual image of how the Lord and Savior actually looked, right? Through methods known as iconoclasm, right? So part of that deception was not just only the physical image, but also in the manner of the way the Savior actually conducted themselves, how the people in the scriptures actually conducted themselves. So there's a strong disconnect. When people think about the Bible, they think about, Jesus Christ, and he comes and he gives loves and kisses and he hands out rainbows and gift cards and all this kind of stuff. They don't see the actual austere, strict portion of the Savior as well, right? So what I wanted to do was discuss pretty much three different traits that I picked out, and just in regards to masculinity. I kind of Googled some of them too, I'm not gonna lie, but I picked out three. So the first one I wanted to discuss was knowledgeable. The idea of the Israelite man being knowledgeable. Now, when you look at today as a whole, as a landscape, when you look at television, when you look at media, uh, um, when you see our people, whether it's on TV shows or in music, there isn't a sentiment of the Israelite man being somebody who's knowledgeable. That is washed away. That is corroding. That is far gone. When you look at, for example, TV shows, when they portray the man in specifically, the man is not projected as somebody who is a beacon of knowledge, of wisdom, of understanding. Somebody who is seen as essentially a pillar of righteousness. He's basically seen as a bumbling idiot. Like, let's be honest. If you take, for example, TV shows such as, I grew up watching The Simpsons. I used to watch Family Guy, Futurama. What's it called? There was Two and a Half Men. you know let's see, you guys get the point. When you look at a lot of these different TV shows, whether it's cartoons or sitcoms, the man is not portrayed as somebody who is a beacon of understanding and knowledge. He's pretty much seen as an idiot, someone who kind of just does things carelessly, someone who is very he's just about his emotions, and then essentially what they do in programming, social programming, they prop up the image of the woman and showing her to be that person. Oh, when the man makes a bumbling, idiotic mistake, she kind of comes in to save the day, right? So there's a turning upside down of the social order in this society, in kind of jabbing and making you men seem like, what's the word I'm looking for, you know basically like somebody who is incapable, right? You don't know the difference between your finger and your elbow, right? You're seen as somebody who is just as tossed, and you're just disposable. Basically, you're seen as a disposable sex, right? That's pretty much how the man is seen, right? So enough with the rambling. Let me just get this account here. So as a matter of fact, let me just bear with me on this. Kings. This is First Kings chapter 4. As a matter of fact, let me go to verse chapter 3, where Solomon prays to the Lord, right? So I'll start here. So First Kings 3, I'll start at 6, and I'll jump to verse 4 just to kind of solidify my point in regards to somebody who's being knowledgeable. And it says, and Solomon said, Thou hast shown thy servant David my father great mercy, according as he had walked before thee in truth, in righteousness, and uprightness of heart with thee, and thou hast kept him from great kindness, kept for him, this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on the throne, as it all this day. And now, O Lord Yahweh, my power, thou hast made thy servant instead of instead of David my father, but I am but a little child. I don't know how to go out or come in. Thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart, which is an understanding mind, to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this people, for who is able to judge this thy so great a people, right? So the Lord answered him and gave him, so it says, verse 10, the speech pleased the Lord, and Solomon had asked this thing. And Yahweh said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and thou hast not asked thyself for thyself long life, neither hast asked riches for thyself, nor hast asked for the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for self-understanding and to discern judgment, right? Behold, I have done according to thy words, and have given thee an understanding, given thee a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee, right? So the Lord pretty much gave Solomon, understanding, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? And in the fourth chapter, when you go to it, it says, and the Most High, so First Kings 4, verse 29, right? And the Most High Yahweh gave Solomon wisdom and understanding, exceeding much, and the largest of his heart, as if the sand that is on the seashore. And Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of the children of the east country, and all of the wisdom of Egypt. For he was wiser than all men, than Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman, and Chakol, and Darda, and the sons of Maal, and his fame was in all nations round about, right? So he had a lot of, he had a lot of wisdom. He was very, very knowledgeable. He knew about things. When you ask, for example, a lot of these, Israelite men today, they don't know how to read an analog clock, for example. They don't know how to do certain things for themselves. They don't know how to essentially, to discern. They don't have, they're just missing a lot pretty much, because they haven't made Yahweh Bashem Shai their refuge. They haven't made Yahweh Bashem Shai their fortress. You understand? Because what comes with wisdom, like the scriptures talk about how wisdom is the principal thing, right? Our people think that to get money is pretty much the principal thing, but money is a defense. I'm not knocking the importance of money, but our people don't, their priorities are pretty much in the wrong places. They don't have understanding of how to actually manage certain situations they're confronted with. So it says, verse 31, and it says, and he spake 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. And he spake of trees, from the cedar tree that is in Lebanon, even unto the hyssop that springeth out of the wall. And he spake also of beasts, and of the fowl, and of creeping things, and of fishes, right? So he knew about certain things. He knew about vegetation, he knew about herbs, he knew about the animals, he knew how to, he just knew, he was very knowledgeable in a multitude and different things, right? And that is the spirit of our forefathers, because our forefathers weren't bumbling idiots like the cartoons and the sitcoms like to portray, Jake, right? Our people were very, very knowledgeable individuals. They weren't ordinary, they weren't just ordinary clowns, like, just regular people that you read about or you hear about. These were honorable, individuals here. That's why the scriptures say in Sirach, let me get it. Let me just get it quickly. I'm going to mess it up. Where is it? Sirach 44. Okay, Sirach 44 verse 1, it says, let us now praise famous men and of our fathers that begot us, right? So there are men within our lineage, within, who have done great things, who had, who made Yahweh Bashim Shai their priority, and you saw how the way they conducted themselves, whether they were in captivity, whether they were in rulership, you saw the manner of the way they conducted themselves in different portions of their walk, right? Okay, the next trait I kind of wanted to hit was assertiveness, right? And this was something I had a situation and I had to deal with recently in regards to exercising assertiveness, right? That being a masculine trait. And when you look at a lot of these cartoons and TV shows, you don't see that being at the forefront of how, a man is supposed to be. And so they create these different caricatures of how, and stereotypes of how, and reinforce them using the media, part of Esau's deception, and reinforce these things and show you a very pseudo, basically like a punk ass image of how a man is supposed to be, right? There was a show, for example, I just use this as an example, in 2.5 Men, you had one that was, you had one brother, or sorry, you had one son, there was two sons from the mother, and you saw how their the strain on their family dynamic of being close to their mother and having no father was around to give them proper guidance. You saw that how that trickled into their personal lives. So one became one that kind of basically he would just deal with women, and he had certain issues, and he just didn't, like, he might have had a lot of resources, but he wasn't in a mindset of essentially like a king, to right, okay, this woman is also my responsibility, right? And then he had the other one who couldn't, essentially learn how to stand up for himself, right? He always had issues because he never resolved those certain issues, basically of standing up to his own mother, right? So these different sentiments are all something to, all honestly always to work on, so assertiveness, let me get that account with the Lord, because that's this kind of spirit we come in when we speak, like, for example, on the highways and byways, because people claim and proclaim that they know this and they know that, right? And through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shah, we tear down strongholds and we speak in a very assertive manner, right? So this is Luke chapter 2, verse 46, and it says, and it came to pass after 3 days they found him in the temple, meaning Yahushua, sitting in the midst of doctors, and both hearing them and asking them questions. And all that heard him were astonished by his understanding and answers. So when people look at us, they think that same thing. Oh, is that the carpenter's son? Yo, look at him. They kind of look down on us because, of how we dress. We know we're dressed in sackcloth and clothing that it represents mourning, because we're in the house of mourning. But when they look at us as, we're basically kind of ordinary men, but we're conduits of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, speaking righteousness, tearing down strongholds, although we don't look like, what's the word I'm looking for? We don't look like so-called people of this world that have status, right? But we speak in a very assertive manner, right? We speak very boldly and confidently, just like Yahushai was, right? He spoke with authority, right? So it says, and when they saw him, they were amazed, and his mother said unto him, Son, why hast thou dealt with us? Behold, thy father and I have sought thee sorrowing. And he said unto them, How is it that ye sought me? Wist ye not that I must be about my father's business? And they understood not the saying which he spake unto them, right? So even the same sentiment, like the way he even conducted himself with his own mother, he checked her, right, and that's the same thing. That's the same spirit. You don't really see that in the landscape with TV, and the same spirit, sentiment, and spirit. You don't see that in the Catholic Church, right? So it doesn't encourage you Israelite men to actually, work on yourselves and actually become men, right? That's why it's always good to knowing the ways of your forefathers. It's not a lot more than just wearing fringes, right? People see us on the highways and the byways, and they jeer and mock and ridicule and so on and so forth, right? It's a heritage, right? It brings us into remembrance of how our forefathers conducted themselves and how we conduct ourselves in captivity, right? So, um, I guess I might do a continuation of this, but I kind of just wanted to touch on some examples of masculine traits, right? And basically, that pretty much covers the point, and the Christianity doesn't, it castrates you. When you think about it, it's spiritually, it really does castrate you Israelites, right? You know, and it doesn't essentially invoke you to basically change and adopt responsibility, and like the scriptures talk about, fearing the Most High, keep it His commandments, for that is the duty of man, the whole duty. Excuse me, right? There's no sentiment of that there, right? You don't experience that there. That's why vocal doesn't go around there, because guys like they're in the Christianity, they're not knowledgeable, right? When you're more knowledgeable, you're very threatening. And you think about it, especially as an Israelite man, you know one of the things, I remember years ago I was having this conversation with my father, and he said to me when I was young, he said, there was a running joke they used to tell him, like, how do you hide money from a black man? And the answer was to put it in a book, right? And at the time I didn't understand, but now in the truth, I understand why. Because our people are not known to seek out knowledge, especially of the ancient, and have understanding of themselves and have understanding of who they are, right? So anyways, I guess I'll leave the lesson there. I might do a continuation to this, but Lord's will, as always, this was edifying. I just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakapadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us truth. Until next time, I say Shalom.